We are going to see more technological change in the next 10 to 20 years than we've seen in the past 100. And some of these changes are going to be fantastic. The advancements in medicine alone is going to be revolutionary, almost utopian. It will completely change healthcare. For instance, Organovo. It's a company that builds human organs from 3D bioprinters. What does this mean? Well, it means that waiting on an organ list for a transplant is a thing of the past. The company predicts that vein and artery transplants will be available in 5 years. Complex organs like livers and hearts within 10. Other advancements like nanotechnology and bionic implants will make what once was impossible, possible. And this is just a small sample of some of the good. But there are things to be concerned about, and it really revolves around us as people and a society. And it concerns me. As an economy takes a dive, more and more companies will take a look to innovate in order to cut costs while simultaneously increasing production. Cut costs, increase production. That's a fancy way of saying, how do we get rid of all of our workers and keep selling junk? Willy Wonka had the Oompa Loompas. Now, economic instability will push us into the fourth industrial revolution, and that will come at the cost of significant job loss. Now, we've heard about manufacturing jobs being outsourced overseas. It's one of the primary reasons for the job loss in America. But the truth is, outsourcing jobs overseas only accounts for 13% of the manufacturing job loss. But meanwhile, production is mysteriously going up while jobs are disappearing by the truckload. Here's the bad news. Most of those jobs will never come back. But it's not China that's the villain. Technology and automation is the villain. MIT recently did a study that analyzed the effects of robots and automation that it had on the job from 1993 to 2007. The research showed that just the addition of one robot cut the jobs of 6 workers. Keep that in mind. Also keep in mind, this study covers a time frame that in the tech world is now considered ancient history. This was over 11 years ago. During that time, 670,000 jobs were lost to automation. And not only these jobs were lost, but new jobs were not created for the workers that were now left unemployed. Extrapolating that study and those folks at MIT, I mean, they're pretty smart people, we're looking now at a loss of over 3 million jobs, all of them erased by robots and automation by the year 2020. That's just 2 years from now. And those figures are very conservative. If you think that's troubling, consider that Foxconn in China, the slave labor factories that mass produce all of our cell phones, they just recently announced that they're laying off over 10,000 workers. Why? Automation. It's gotten to the point where China is now replacing slaves with robots. When that happens, do you think we're ever going to be able to replace those jobs here? These are also just manufacturing jobs. It doesn't calculate the effects of artificial intelligence. It doesn't include other industries that are also already going heavily automated. Have you been to a fast food joint lately? Right now, you can, at many of them, bypass the human and order from a touch screen. Did you go Christmas shopping? Did you actually shop in a real store? Companies like Amazon are taking over the market. Transportation, Uber. Cars are going to go driverless. How many Uber drivers will lose their job? How many taxi cab drivers, truckers, limo drivers? How many will be looking for work? How many car dealerships will go out of business? Conservative estimates show over 5 million lost jobs in the auto industry alone in the near future. I want you to stop right now and have this conversation with your kids. because there is a very high probability that the job they want to do when they grow up won't even exist. Let me give you an example of what's coming. In 2014, the price of oil crashed. After hitting nearly $150 a barrel, the price dipped to $70. American technological breakthroughs in fracking were causing an oil glut. But that's not what I want to focus on. Typically, the Saudis should have cut production to bring the price back up. But they knew that fracking was expensive. The amount of workers needed to pull it off demanded high oil prices. So the Saudis kept production high and tried to bring the price really low to bleed American fracking companies of cash. In the beginning, the strategy was working. The price of oil continued to drop and oil rigs fell off. It just cost too much money for frackers to keep up. But as oil rigs dropped off, so did the U.S. oil worker. But then something unique, weird, happened. It was in May 2016. Oil rigs mysteriously started coming back online. But the workers that used to operate the machinery weren't back at work. These jobs have now been erased. So what happened? No Oompa Loompas. Fracking was so expensive due to the amount of workers required to operate the gear that companies had two options. They either had to close down the shop or they had to give up or innovate. They picked innovation. They invented what is called the Iron Roughneck. This new robot enables a crew of 5 to pull off what it used to take 20. But what's important is the time frame. How long did this take? Economic instability for the oil companies forced them to take a leap that probably they wouldn't have taken for another decade. And this was accomplished in under 2 years. Meanwhile, hundreds of thousands of oil jobs are not only gone, but not coming back.